Welcome, amazing agents from across the country. Today is Thursday, October 25th, 2018, and this is Mastermind call number 200.
Yay!
Yay! Amazing. I was trying to think of what I could do. Yeah, whoop, whoop. Anybody want to sing or dance?
Let's just keep moving, Jim.
I want to tell you all how much we appreciate you. In an environment where 80% of new businesses go under in the first year, 5 years later, we are thriving. And I actually have a little friend that sits on my desk here that I met at the first NAR convention, and I just wanted him to say a few words. Hopefully you can hear him. Hang on.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a ton. Thanks a million. Thanks again, and a big thumbs up to you.
Could you hear that?
Not all that well, but I think he was saying thank you.
Yeah, I was saying thank you and over again. So we want to let you know how much we all appreciate you, and we wouldn't be here without you. Sorry you couldn't hear that well, but it's just a funny little thing I got at the NAR convention. I thought it'd be a good way to start. I'm assuming that Chad is not here, so we are going to carry on without him. We have 3 people in the queue. A couple things of business to clear up first. We again last week we had a hard time deciding on our winner of the week, so we had 2, Barbara Klepper and Chad Campbell. You are our winners of the week last week. If you haven't checked in yet to claim your prize, please do so. I had another little unusual thing. We had a seller call in that inherited some property in Arkansas, in St. Francis and Wichita County, Arkansas. And we do not have a subscriber in either county. If any of you all know anyone in Arkansas, it looks like this would be a good deal for both an investor and a realtor. She just wanted to get rid of it as soon as possible. So if so, just send an email to support@alltheleads.com. I guess Arkansas is a big state, and those are 2 unpopulated counties. But whenever we get something like that, we try to reach out to you guys first.
Well, I'm sure that we have a good friend in Arkansas that would be glad to work with them.
I thought of him, but I think it's quite a ways away. But if you want to check in with him, yeah, if it's a good deal, I'm sure he'll get in the car and drive a few hours. I did think of him.
Just need the info, but
okay.
Chad is now here, by the way.
Welcome, Chad. You missed my emotional introduction, so everybody's in tears. So welcome. I'm glad you were able to get through. And that's all I've got today. Tim, anything you want to share with the group?
No, we've already got 3 folks in the queue, and I'm happy that this is I can't believe that this is our 200th call. That is just a pretty crazy thing. That's as we started these relatively early on, but that's almost 4 years worth of these calls. And actually, if this is our 200th, we're probably over 4 because we kind of skipped a couple along the way for the holidays and stuff. So this is amazing, and we wouldn't be here if it weren't for you and you weren't being successful. We wouldn't be here. So thank you for your part in that, and we hope we continue to earn your business.
Well said. Dad, anything you'd like to share with the group?
No, I can't top that. Let's go.
All right. Tommy, can't forget our 4th partner.
I can't say anything, but thank you also.
All right. And Tom wants to tell you, if you need any help, send an email to support@alltheleads.com and be very specific. We always remind you that every week. And we have 4 people in the queue, guys. Good job. We've got plenty of room for more. Just hit *6 and hit 1. And our first up this week is phone number ending in 1927. You're up first. I think that's Allison. Melvin, phone number ending in 1927. Are you there?
Hi, yeah, I'm here. I actually didn't have a question. I pressed the wrong button.
Okay. Well, we're glad you're here. Not a problem. Thanks for being here. Next up is phone number ending in 7430. You're up next.
Hi, it's Sara from the Atlanta area.
Yes, ma'am.
I was calling to find out if Chad could address the process or a little bit about approaching, say, funeral directors and heads of nursing homes and assisted living places and things like that.
Sure. I'm trying to remember. It must have been on Mastery last week. We had a pretty detailed conversation about this. So my personal values keep me out of funeral homes. What we find is families typically file probate about 2 months after the date of death. So across the country, that seems to be about the median amount of time that it takes people to process it, grieve, and then finally say, okay, we're ready to deal with this. So personally, I don't want to market to them until they've reached that point, because it's just going to complicate things between me and my broker and estate board, and so that.
Well, and I don't think I meant. I think I meant more funeral directors, just to be on their top of mind awareness. That there is somebody out there to call in case they're asked.
So it's not a bad idea, especially if you know the director and it's not misperceived. The bigger part of your question, though, is kind of building a referral network, and that's a big part of what we teach in Probate Mastery. So there's kind of two prongs: marketing to the PRs, and then building a referral network. And the ones the kind of the basic list is you start with the probate attorneys. That's the easiest because we actually give you the information and you know how many cases they're handling. With nursing homes is a really good place because, and I guess let me back up a bit, because we've all built this team of people in this specific service with a really broad scope. We can help people basically in any transitional phase, not just if a death has occurred. So a lot of our folks have actually branded not probate specific, but more transition specific. So like DetroitTransitionTeam.com or something like that. So that's the idea. Anyone who would have contact with people in that end of life planning phase. So you have life insurance, people who, insurance salesmen, financial advisors, CPAs, family law attorneys that are setting up trusts. Nursing homes are a good place. Senior moving companies also have contact with those folks. But the idea is to just think about who is that demographic having conversations with, and who do they go to when they realize, holy crap, we didn't have a plan and life just changed. When they lose a surviving spouse or an unexpected health challenge comes up and they need to liquidate assets to pay for long-term care or get into more suitable living conditions. Social workers can also be a good person. Mm-hmm. And the idea is to, make contact with them, however that, usually face-to-face is most effective, but help them understand that you've got a team of people locally that are built specifically to help in those life transitions, and they can simply refer one person to you or refer the family to one person versus trying to find all these solutions and people they can trust, and show them how that complements them. Nursing homes specifically, it's really easy to see how the value to them. The initial point of contact at a nursing home or retirement facility, their job is to really show the facility in its best light, but also to financially qualify the family and make sure that they can afford to live there. So they're going to be taking a look at their assets, their liabilities, and whether they can afford to live there. If somebody really wants to live there, but they don't have, they're not in a position to pay for it, then that person can say, well, listen, we have a team here, and they should consider themselves part of your team. And like, well, our team can help you, liquidate the assets, get the most money for the least amount in the shortest amount of time, move stuff into storage, and get you moved into this facility. And we had a really good back and forth about this on the last Mastery class, because a gentleman, one of the guys in Mastery, had actually been through that twice with his own parents. And they sold their home, downsized, had to use a senior moving company. So like a lot of these people we're talking about had contact with his parents. They were 94 years old and in good health. They just couldn't really take care of a 5,000 square foot house anymore. So the idea is make contact with them and help them understand your business model, how it complements theirs. Most importantly, I would say, is getting it into a system. So getting that into your calendar, just like a phone prospecting block. So every Wednesday from 3 to 5, this is what I do. Or every, one week a month, instead of phone prospecting, I go build my referral network. And that's going to look different for all of us based on our schedules. But the idea is to get something in writing and in your calendar that creates a discipline, So you're doing this, week in and week out. And it doesn't take very long. I mean, most of these folks will see the value in what you're offering, and they probably have never seen it from anyone else. So it's really easy to differentiate and really get on their good side really quick.
On the assisted living places, or who is the job title? It's probably not the director, but who is the job title that we should be?
I've seen it. I've seen different titles. So the director of admissions sometimes, the director of marketing sometimes. One that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but I saw one that was a program coordinator. But you're essentially, regardless of the title, you're looking for that initial point of contact that meets with the family and discusses finances, because that's where the need is going to come up. That's the person that can say, okay, well, listen, we've got a person that can get you the most money out of personal and real property, and they can handle everything if you want them to. So whoever has those conversations, and you can speak to the receptionist, and there's typically most all the ones I've been in. You do have a front desk person, and you could just talk to them about who should I meet with if a family member is wanting to check out the facility and see if they qualify. And they should point you right to that person, because they've got a strong monetary motivation, to get you to the right person. And then once you're sitting with them, you can kind of say, well, listen, here's why I wanted to meet with you, because we do help families, elderly families and families in transition, and I just wanted to have one more level of service. So, could I consider you part of my team? And that conversation should naturally lead into, well, how can I help you?
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Please come back and let us know how it works out for you. Please.
Will do.
Do.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Next up is phone number ending in 6248. I think that's Joyce. Joyce is back again this week.
Hi, Chad. I am going on a listing appointment in a couple of hours, and I'm using your seller net proceeds estimate, and I want to make sure that I'm doing it correctly. I have the 3 columns. The first column is the low, and I am estimating $350,000, which is 70% of the high. Cash, be an as-is cash sale with no expenses. So I'd be looking for a cash buyer that would buy it for $350,000, and the seller would walk away with the money, paying no expenses. Is that right for that?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, so let's back up. How did your conversation go? Do you feel like a cash offer is even a good option for them? Like, are they that motivated that they need a solution in the next 14 to 30 days?
Yes, the seller said that the decedent is her brother, and she lives out of state, and she's here to interview realtors, and she says there are no appliances in the kitchen, and that her brother has passed away 6 months ago and was very sick before that, and there's very little, if any, money to put into anything.
Okay. And do you have contractors that you can trust to get the work done and carry the invoice to closing?
I do.
So,
but I have three.
First.
Ed, the middle column is the one I'm recommending, and then the high column. The current comps in the area are at about $500,000, and I'm considering that just a regular sale. But she'd have to, because I'm assuming, and I haven't seen it yet, but I'm assuming from what she has said that a lot is going to have to be done to the property. So I'm assuming $40,000 in repairs, buying appliances, painting, carpet, whatever would be needed. At least $40,000, I'm sure. That's the high, and then the recommended middle one is just as is, just putting in appliances in the kitchen so I can get an appraisal. Okay.
Yeah, so I would change your column headings to cash as is, retail. There's different ways that I use that sheet, but I would change your headings. If you were just going to discuss a more conventional listing, then it would be low, recommended, high. And you could, zero in on one based on the condition. But it sounds like you've done a good job discussing the options. So I would put, cash, as is, and then retail. Now, obviously, retail is the 500 you referenced. That's right. If somebody takes the time and the financial risk to get the home where it needs to be. That sounds like it's already off the table for her, unless she wants to talk to you and your contractor about rehabbing the home and carrying the invoice and potentially even having a joint venture where you can, your contractor or you could share in profit. The as-is scenario, typically, and this is just my personal rule of thumb, like to me, as-is value is what am I 100% certain I could sell to have this under contract in less than 7 days if I put it on MLS. And that to me is a sound as-is value. So if you know that you could sell it in a heartbeat at, 375, if it were on MLS, then that's kind of your as-is value. The cash, so you basically took retail times 70% to get to your cash. The one thing you left out, it's retail times 70% minus repairs. So you need to back out that $40,000 that you're estimating for repairs or whatever that number ends up being to get to like a true number that would excite an investor enough to jump, and close as soon as title comes back.
So I'm thinking that the cash investor might be me.
Okay.
And I'm wondering if I am if I take the 70% of the retail minus the repairs and offer them that, and they have no expenses, they walk away and I pay all the expenses. Am I doing what you normally do in a situation like this?
Yeah, I mean, if they're willing to sell for 70% minus repairs, typically that's going to bring you in about, half of the ARV. So it's probably going to be around $250,000. I haven't done the math because we're talking right now, but I mean, if you could buy that house for $250,000, would you?
Oh yeah, for $250,000 I would.
Yeah.
The $350,000 is my question. But
well, what's your end game? Would you turn it to a rental or would you flip it?
I would flip it.
Okay. And so I mean, until you get there and see if $40,000 will cover it, I mean that's the wild card here. Is you need to take a look at it and estimate repairs. What size home is it? How square footage?
3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,272 square feet.
Yeah, and you think $40,000 will do everything needed?
I actually think that it's probably better at about $50,000 because I'm assuming that they're going to need things like granite in the kitchen and general repairs everywhere in a scenario like this. Yeah,
I find, and this is in Virginia, but I find like a rule of thumb, cosmetic rehab, so paint, carpet, refinishing floors, stuff like that is typically around $15 a square. If I have to do mechanicals, roof, windows, any kind of the big ticket stuff, rewiring or new electrical upgrade, a lot of it gets into I use kind of $30 a square foot. But it sounds like, I mean, that's a relatively small house, so your money's going to go a long ways.
Right.
So
you think I'm using your approach appropriately?
Yeah, sure. And the idea of the net sheet is not to bring it to the front and like highlight it, but if they're having trouble, so you would go in and say, based on everything we've talked about, you really have three options. One is to sell it for cash, and I'm willing to actually be that buyer in this scenario because I like this neighborhood, and I could offer you X amount. And then watch their body language, see if they flinch. And then say the next scenario would be if I were to put on my brokerage hat and put this on MLS, we're probably going to be looking for a landlord because we probably can't pass inspections, and it's certainly not going to pass a government appraisal. So our most likely buyer here is probably a landlord or maybe a first-time home buyer that has cash. And I expect we could probably have it under contract in 7 days, probably close inside of 60 days. The third and last option would be actually doing all the needed repairs, which would probably give us a 90 to 180 day window. It would cost about X based on what I see, and you could expect to get around 500,000. Based on what we've talked about so far, that's not really an option for you, but I did want to put it here because there are some things that we could talk about if you wanted to try to do that together to create more money for the estate. Just based on what you see, I mean, which of these do you feel most comfortable with right now? And then just listen. And silence is good here because you want them to speak first and see. If they're really flinching on that cash number, you might break rapport if you try to push there. If they're not so motivated they can't wait 60 days, then as is might be in their best interest. And you're probably not going to make as much money, but you're not going to have trouble sleeping at night either, because you know you did what was in their best interest. And so you kind of let them self-select. A lot of times what will happen with these conversations is they'll look at that as his number, and then you can remind them, listen, this is probably, a 30 to 60 day number. Is that too much? Is that quick enough? Well, if they say no, then they've eliminated 2 of the 3 options. Now you're only talking about a cash deal. You can slide the purchase agreement across the table. Press hard, there's 2 copies.
So do I take a purchase agreement and a listing agreement with me?
Absolutely, and everything filled out. So take the information off the tax card, fill everything out, so it can be as easy as possible. Like when I sign a listing, I basically put in a date and a price. Everything else is done, and then I'll do the private remarks after they sign it. Or the private and public remarks. When I do a purchase agreement, it's completely filled out, and I pretty much know what my price is, but a lot of times I'll leave it blank so we can negotiate. But I take pre-filled paperwork on every single appointment because I've lost some really good deals because I didn't have a contract with me before I learned better.
Okay.
Go get them, Joyce. And I don't mean to cut you off. If you need more help after the call, reach out to us. We got about 7 or 8 more people in the queue, but okay. I hope that helps. And yeah. I just want to make a quick comment. A lot of times we have agents that agonize, am I the realtor or am I the investor? And taking this approach, as long as you're honest with them, they choose the option. You can be either. You're giving them multiple solutions. It would be unethical not to tell them what the house is really worth, but if you do that, and give them that option, you're truly doing what's best for them. So good job, Chad, with the explanation. Please, if you need more help, let us know, and come back next week and let us know how it turns out.
I sure will. Thanks a million.
Awesome. You're very welcome. Next up it says unknown with no phone number. So anonymous caller, you're up.
Well, that's kind of weird. This is Matt. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Matt. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm coming to you guys. I'm not even sure if this is the appropriate, forum for this question, but I'm coming to you, and you can tell me not. We can figure that out later. But I'm coming to you guys from Frank Patrick.
Sure.
And I'm actually located just outside of D.C. in Montgomery County, Maryland. Mm-hmm. And I actually literally just got off the phone maybe a half hour ago with Darcy.
Right.
I'm still kind of processing of not only what she told me, but my experience of actually going to the courthouse, obviously through Frank's program, and doing all this myself.
Sure.
So the first thing that struck me, that I guess not really struck me as much as I knew, there's a ton of leads, which they're averaging about 230, is what she's saying in Montgomery County. Mm-hmm. If you start putting numbers, I'm just going to say it. If you start putting numbers to this, it's a lot. It's overwhelming, the commitment that it's going to take.
Sure.
So I'm trying to figure out in my mind the best approach for this. First, from speaking with Frank or going back and forth, I'm surprised there isn't a wait list in my county, which actually kind of scares me. Does that make sense to you guys at all?
Yeah, don't be surprised. We've been doing this 5 years. We have a lot of counties where we have no subscribers. Realtors are not typically open-minded to new approaches. A lot of realtors are set in their ways, and the reality is, other than conventions and some online advertising, we don't want 10 agents in every county. We never have. We'd rather get a few good agents and make them successful, in each market. So part of it is intentional, and part of it is just the nature of realtors. I believe, they're quick to try something for a day or two, but making the commitment, like you said, that's required here, a lot of agents don't want to do that. And I know, as far as the best way to handle this, I know Chad has a good answer for that. The best way to take that stress off your plate. Go ahead, Chad.
So, I mean, the reason we have, I guess I'll say collaborated, not necessarily partnered with Frank, is we have, as companies, we have very similar values. The big difference is Frank teaches people to go do it and, set it up themselves. We saw those same struggles when we started this company, and that's why it's designed the way it is. So I think it might be helpful to just run through. So just for example, you can get the probate leads from Montgomery County. We're going to gather them every 30 days, push them into a free CRM that's provided with your subscription. That CRM can fire off an order to the mail house. You can do our letters, or you can do Frank's lumpy mail. As soon as that's fulfilled, it'll fire an order off to our call center. So our ISAs will make your phone calls for you. You get a copy of your own letter in the mail, so you know when it came, when your clients got it, your prospects got it, and you basically sit back and wait for us to set appointments. So it can be that easy. We've automated pretty much the entire campaign, so you can focus on the part you're already good at, the people part, right? Obviously, you can do it on your own, or you can piecemeal it. You don't have to be on autopilot, but we have designed a system to ideally take that overwhelm out of the equation, so you can just focus on what you're good at. And Frank obviously saw value in that. That's why he refers you guys over here.
Right, and Chad, just a little bit of background. I've actually been running his system since religiously since March, and I use the CRM. The letters go out. They go out. They're not altered. They go out, just like his. And the one part the piece I haven't been doing is obviously I'm not diligent enough on the phone calls. But what I can say is after about putting 450 through the system, it's resulted in 0 calls. So it's also, you can understand why I'm a little hesitant. Sure. The ultimate goal would be, yes, I would love for you guys to handle this beginning to end. But until I can wrap my hand around it, my head, and also financially, I'm trying to figure out how to continue forward with this to make it work, and the best approach to do it now.
So the overwhelm you talk about is not necessarily the workload, but just not seeing the return.
Correct. I'm not worried about getting the letters out. I'm not worried about going to the courthouse and getting them, because the other thing I have found out is too, I was actually surprised there was only 230 leads that they're averaging a month, because if you've ever done it, it's, what to look for, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and probably less than 10% of the actual leads or from the small probate to the regular estate to everything that's filed that you're looking at, only about 10% of those actually have real estate in, because then I go back and match. And I've gotten pretty good at it and pretty quick at it to make sure that there's actually property in Montgomery County.
So you're only marketing so far between March and now. You've been marketing to 10% of the overall list.
Yeah, which is about, it's anywhere from 12 to 16, 17 leads a week, because I do it once a week.
Okay. So I'll share some stats with you. So nationwide, 64% of I think 54% of Americans own real estate. And senior citizens, 78.8% of people over the age of 65 own real estate. So I think whatever you're using to filter is probably filtering too much. There's definitely more than 10% of the people that are going to own real estate. So you're probably scrubbing out some opportunity there, just based on broad statistics. So you might look at, and because of like your area, you've got, some people might be in D.C. and then move out to Montgomery and then go to Prince George's or over to Fairfax. Like, they may hold the real estate, but in a different county, and you're just scrubbing against one set of tax records in a market where you've got 8 courthouses and everyone's normal day commute, right? So
right.
you could be losing some opportunity there by only scrubbing against one single county when people are moving throughout the course of their life but not selling their real estate. So you might look at that. The reason we teach everybody, like what we teach is market to everybody and focus on people and situation, not real estate. And you'll find opportunities you never even you couldn't have imagined where some of these might come from. Well, my mom died, she didn't have anything, but I need to sell this house because I picked out a bigger house. So we just try to speak to everybody who's going through it, find a way to provide value, and you just find yourself always getting inbound business. That's why we do it the way we do it. But 10% does seem low. If you're getting it down to that, there's probably a whole bunch that's being left on the table. I'll say this: you could try, you can continue to do it on your own and try marketing to the full list for 1 month. The other thing I'm curious about, how are you getting your phone numbers? Are you finding many numbers recorded, or are you skip tracing on your own? How do you get those?
So the phone numbers is coming from I'm drawing a blank here, but one of the challenges is it provides so many that you have to that if there's only a few, I look for 5, and then I try to pick out the best 5 because they'll have it all the way back from like when they lived in Texas or wherever. I try to find it local way, and I'm not drawing a blank here, but I'll find it in a second. Truthfinder.com.
Okay. And what would you say? I mean, having done it for this long, what do you feel like your accuracy is on? Are they accurate numbers? Or are you actually getting the right personal rep?
Okay, so the answer is to give you a good sampling. I would say I haven't done enough calls to answer that. However, what I will say is when I do make the calls, about 41, 42%. You actually get a hold of the person. Mm-hmm. But again, sometimes I may have to call. Like I said, I try to. I've here lately been limited to the 5 best numbers instead of calling all 10 sometimes. But sometimes there's very rare are there no numbers. I don't even know if I ever run it, but a lot of times there's 1 or 2.
Okay.
I do know at the courthouse, if I go, I'm lucky to get 1 out of, if I have 12 or 15 leads that week, I'm lucky if 1 has a phone number.
Yeah,
at
they
the
almost
courthouse.
never do. Yeah,
right.
And that's why. So that's a big part of what we do too. I mean, we track about 95% accuracy in getting you to the right personal representative. Now, we can't promise they're always going to answer the phone or return your voicemail, but we've gotten it down to about as perfect as a science as you can. So just to kind of recap and troubleshoot, I would say figure out, look at the quality of your phone numbers, but also make sure you're getting the calls made, because that's in a super competitive market. That's your edge. I mean, we've got people in Manhattan, LA, even Denver, the toughest market in the country right now, that are doing well because they pick up the phone. So if you're spending 80% of your time on mail and 20% on the phone, you're not getting the result you want. Switch your 80-20, right? The other thing that I would say you haven't mentioned is you should look at your referral network. So you're gathering probate data. You should be talking to probate attorneys and helping them understand what your offer is. Have you listened to much of our material? Have you been on many of these calls or role plays or anything?
So I just got turned on you guys a couple of weeks ago, and the answer is yes, I have listened to some, which I thought was interesting. You're in Roanoke, so you're not too far from me, or outside of here again, which was why I was surprised that the area was still available. So to answer your question, yes, I have in the last couple of weeks got on the website, and I think this is the second call that I've been on, and I'm like, I'll just
So you understand
I'll
the principles that we teach, become the hub and build a team around you, the spokes, right? You've heard us talk about that, and how does your model compare? Like, do you have
so
a single
absolutely.
offer,
So I've
or
already,
do you have a broad offer?
Hey,
so
Chad, Mac, I don't mean to interrupt you guys. We got like 6 more people in the queue, so I mean, maybe we can finish up real quick. But if you need an additional call after this, and I'll ask Darcy to reach out to you also. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you mid sentence. Go ahead and finish what you were saying.
Again, I'd be happy to follow up with later on, but I do use the brochure that I've already put together, and I also have already started my my networking with financial planner, and also have one attorney that did the intro, but I have not started pounding on doors yet. No.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Feel free to. I mean, you can call any of us. You can call the main line or call Darcy. I mean, we'll help you anytime, any way we can. It sounds like you're doing most of the right things, but if we can help you fine tune it, we're happy to.
And the only thing I wanted to,
it.
and thank you so much. It's great questions. And I wanted to also just add that don't be surprised if you're not getting response on the mail. The mail is an introduction and gives you an excuse to call them, but direct mail rate, if you're getting 2%, you're doing fantastic. So far, you've got 0%, but the mail alone in a competitive market just isn't going to work. You got to get on the phone. So it sounds like you're doing that a little bit, but just be more aggressive on the phone calls. And give us a call later. We'll give you some additional coaching. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. No problem. Next up is familiar name there. Chad is on with Chad 9234.
Hello.
Yes, sir. You're up.
Hey,
All right. Let's see. So you answered a few of them from the other questions. I was going to say, though, your ICA, for anybody, has worked well for me, having them do the calling.
Great. Yeah, I think you said last week you had 5 or 6 appointments in just a few days through the ISAs. That's great.
Yeah.
I think you said you had listed 2 of them. Did you get any more in this past week?
No.
Okay, that's good. That's a great start.
Yeah. Let's see. What I was going to ask was, when you're trying to build your network, do you usually? I mean, I have a few people I can call, but really haven't done a lot with them personally. I mean, would you just like take them to lunch, kind of discuss what your plans are, and kind of get them on board?
I mean, it's up to you. I mean, it's really, you don't have to take everybody to lunch. Like a lot of folks kind of expect to have to give up more than they like. We have folks that visit probate attorneys and offer to give a 25% referral. Well, that's great, and he should be paying attention, but you're providing a ton of kind of organic value. So The idea is just get face to face, show them how, help make sure they understand what your full scope of service is, and then show them how that complements their business. That's usually enough value. You don't have to, buy lunch or give referral fees or anything like that. They're going to see the value. So it's, to try to nail down those people for a specific lunch date is probably just going to prolong building that relationship. When you can just walk in the office for 15 minutes, introduce yourself, leave a flyer, and follow up in a week. So don't feel like you have to do that. I mean, there's going to be times where you want to take it, it's conversations going well, and you're like, you know what, why don't we just, I'll let you go today. How about lunch tomorrow? And, there's certainly going to be opportunities for that, but I don't think you have to do that to start the relationships.
Right. Well, I was talking more on my vendor relationships, like my contractor. I mean, I've dealt with them, but not really personally, and I just feel like it's a little better if I've sat down, talked to them, kind of got them on board.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
I've got them. I can call them, but I haven't really, sat down and discussed with some of them.
And I would say there also, if you're calling to offer them business, ask them to stop by your office. It doesn't have to be lunch. Also. Do it, do it if you want to do it face to face. I'm sure they'd come by and sit down with you in your conference room for 10, 15 minutes to get some more business.
And the other thing, if you're trying to build trust yourself, I mean, if you're trying to vet these people, Go to Little Caesars and buy 5 pizzas for $30 and show up at the job site. So you get to meet the crew, you get to see what quality of work they're doing, and just call and say, hey, where are you guys at today? I'm going to drop by the site. And at like 11:30 before they break for lunch, show up with a stack of pizza, and bring lunch to them.
Yeah. And then the other question, it seems like in a lot of my people that I'm talking to, of course, they always want to hold off, but it seems like they're holding off because they haven't gotten to a point where they're allowed to list, or at least they don't think so.
Right.
And I was trying to find out. I talked to the clerk, and I guess they have to have something, letters of testament or something.
Yeah. So what they need is the letters of testamentary, which is the official appointment of them. It gives them the authority to administrate the estate. That is almost always in hand by the time they respond to our offer or we talk to them. The exceptions that I know of are Southern California. The courts seem to be backed up, and some of our folks are having conversations where they haven't been appointed yet, but that's the only market I've seen that in so far. What's really common is for attorneys to when they meet with a family, to say, listen, I'll tell you what to do. Just don't do anything right now. I'll let you know when you can list the house. And whether the attorney's saying you can't sell the house or that's what they're hearing is a moot point. I mean, that's their perception. So it's a really common objection that we hear. But Jim, there's, if you don't think it's in their best interest to sit and do nothing, then it's your job to pull them out of the probate quicksand or that procrastination. So if you think of the cost, so they're paying for insurance, they're paying for property tax, they've got a vacant property. If they did things correctly, they're paying for even more insurance, so the asset's covered. So it's costing them money just to sit there, and they might not be thinking about it that way, and the attorney might not either. It seems that the attorneys give that advice because if you get the wrong realtor involved that lists the property, then they just become a thorn in the side and one more thing to drag through this, right?
Right.
So when the attorneys in town understand that you're different and you're actually going to be proactive and move the ball down the field, you'll start to change that. But until you get to know them, you've got to show the sellers that. And Jim's got a really good line. It's, I understand that, but are you saying you would rather, get the home on the market in 6 months, or would you rather get it on the market now and be ready to sell, have it sold in 6 months? And you can always list it with the contingency, well, Mr. Seller, what we usually do is we'll go ahead and get the home on the market for our clients because it's usually in their best interest. And then when we get the home under contract or when we get offers, we'll sit down with the probate attorney and make sure that the right contingencies are written in that he's comfortable with. And in most cases, that will end up with the attorney taking that to court. The sale will be approved, and you guys will just have more liquidity in the estate. So the net result is usually shortening the overall probate timeline, 3 to 6 months. Versus just sitting here doing nothing right now. So worst case scenario, we can meet. I'll take a look, tell you what I think the best options are for you. And if you feel comfortable moving forward now, we can. And I'll make sure the attorney's involved in that. If you'd rather wait, if you think it's in your best interest, then we'll talk about it then. And, and we'll put a plan together with a longer timeline. So would Friday at 3 be a good time to have that conversation?
Right.
And
so that gives them, they have the right to list it, but you're saying they don't really have the right to close and sell it until I guess the attorney does whatever.
What state are you in?
Texas.
I'm pretty sure they can go ahead and close it. I think Texas is like Virginia. So like with me, we can put them on the market, list them, close them, pay for a fidelity bond, distribute the cash to the estate from a title company, and then the attorney, and so in Virginia and Texas, we kind of have fast lanes for things like this, like foreclosure and probate. So I think, and you can even do, and you brought this up the other day on, I think it was on Mastery, the
Monument of title.
Monument of title. So you can even carve the house out of probate with a single document, carve it out of the probate and move on. And the attorneys haven't told them that, but if you tell them that and then go work with the attorney and say, listen, you know, I told my clients this because it's in their best interest to go ahead and get this done, and I know you are acting in their best interest, so we're going to put this on the market. Can we get a monument of title to carve this, to carve it out so it's even more efficient? And if the attorney, they should see your good intentions and, understand your reasons for doing that and cooperate with you. And if they do, then you've just built a good working relationship with a probate attorney that knows you're operating above the bar, right? Like you're going above and beyond.
Now the other question that I have, the other situation that they're also holding off because they're not the heir, they're wanting, I guess, decisions from the heirs. Is that pretty common?
You're saying the personal representative is not an heir?
Right. They're not the
Are they
heir,
a public administrator?
They're the public administrator for it, but the people getting the property are, other people.
Okay. And
that
you're
common?
saying I'd say in 10% or less of probates will have a public administrator or a fiduciary.
Okay.
In most cases, they've sat down with the family, kind of discussed the wishes, and if there was a will, then it's easy. They just follow the will. If there's not a will and somebody wants to keep a house, then you've got some discussions that need to happen because state law says dispose of assets and distribute in this order. But if somebody wants to keep a house, then they need to step up and buy the other heirs out, and that might be what they're talking about. But it's so you had a discussion with the public administrator, right?
Not yet. I had it, but I haven't had one with the attorney. The situation is she's in another state. The two of the heirs are in different places in the state, and a couple of the other heirs are in another country completely.
Okay. And the public administrator says, I can't get all these people in the same place. I don't know what they want to do. Follow up with me later. Is that kind of the gist of it?
Yeah. I told her I'd follow up with her in a couple of weeks, but I was trying to think of my best conversation with her to kind of push her if it's possible for her to do something.
So
anyway,
and I'm kind of spitballing here. Like, what if you called and said, hey, I don't know if you do this commonly, but a lot of our clients are out of town, so we actually use GoToMeeting or Zoom or whatever. Insert screen sharing tool here, join.me, and we can actually get everybody on the same page. If it's okay with you, we can use my platform, and you and I could both talk to the family at the same time. Would that be valuable to you? And just see, because some people would be like, "Oh, well, I don't." You've already tried that?
Yes, actually.
Okay.
Hey, Chad,
try that my next
time. Please. I feel bad today. I'm cutting everybody off. We got a ton of people in the queue, and if you need more, all of you, and if you're in the queue and we don't get to you today, please just send an email right away to support@alltheleads, and we'll get back to you with a one-on-one call. We want to make sure we get to everybody one way or the other. And Chad, thanks as always for participating. You're very welcome. Next up is phone number ending in 2516. You're up next.
Hi, this is Eric in the city of Denver.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Eric.
Hi. This is actually my third call. I've been on the last three calls. The first, I'm a brand new licensee, so the first call, my question was, should I sign up with you all before joining a brokerage, or join the brokerage first and then sign up with you all? But you recommended I sign up with you guys, so that's what I did, and thank you for that. I too was surprised at my ability to have access in this market. But it was to my advantage, because as I started to meet with brokerage firms, they were very impressed with my plan and my ability to talk specifically about just the number of leads I'd be able to generate on a monthly basis to begin to work from right out of the gate. So much so that the place I ultimately ended up joining, the managing broker offered me an office facing west. So if you're in Denver and you have a west-facing office with sweeping views of the Front Range, that's a big deal. So he must have seen all of the potential in what I'm going to bring to the table. So thank you for that advice. My question now is, now that I'm getting up and running in a planning phase, can you talk a little bit about the flexibility and portability of the CRM that you provide, and what CRM is it? Because I'm trying to make a decision. Should I use the firm's CRM? Should I get my own so that I have portability and flexibility with it? I might leave in 6 months. Or should I use yours? What do you recommend?
Well, you certainly use ours for your probate business. It's not exactly built to be a robust, full-functioning real estate CRM, so it's not the best tool for like sphere of influence prospecting. For us, it's the best thing we can provide for you to manage the leads in the list format that we send them to you. So I would say, find yourself a CRM, and my advice is, get a third party, because you might change your mind about the brokerage, or make sure you understand that in your agreement with the brokerage, pretty much if you're putting the leads in there, they're the brokerage's leads.
Exactly.
Even if you're allowed to export them. So there's some really great CRM companies out there for $10 to $25 a month that you could use that would be more suited for the general real estate. But this data there's so much data in the probate data we give you that it doesn't fit well into those other CRMs. So I guess what I'm saying, get used to having two systems. The way a lot of people work with our CRM is they'll use it as their probate prospecting CRM, and then when somebody becomes an appointment or a listing, then they'll move them over into their core real estate CRM. Otherwise, you just end up with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that you might not have ever spoken to in your core CRM. So that's how a lot of folks do it. You manage all your probate business in the CRM we provide, and then keep your sphere of influence and everybody else in a separate tool.
I see. Perfect. Can you throw out a couple of names, or do you want to stay away from that?
So I used, when I was managing it, building a team and doing it myself, I like Top Producer. It's kind of antiquated as far as the technology, but it works. And it's roughly, I think, $39 a month for the first license. But it's a 12-month commitment. There's so many out there. Like, a lot of folks really like Follow Up Boss. There's tons and tons of CRM companies out there. It's hard to. It's kind of overwhelming when you go looking. I would say look for one. The best CRM is the one that you fully understand and will actually use. A lot of them have so many bells and whistles, nobody ever gets around to using that stuff, and it just becomes, it's kind of self-defeating. So stick with something simple. I chose Top Producer because of its transaction management component. Like, once I had a deal in escrow, like, I had all my checklists and everything built into the system. So it wasn't just a prospecting CRM. It was kind of a business management platform for me.
Okay.
All right, sir. Thank you. Please keep coming back, and great to hear we help you get a nicer office. Send us a picture at your office window. Appreciate the kind words. Thank you. We have time for one or two more. Next up is phone number ending in 4730. You're up next.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello,
sir. You're up.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, this is Andre. Well, I work as an ISA for a real estate team in Metro Detroit, and I've been calling probate leads for like a little over a month now. I do my best to call my list every day, like 2 to 4 hours, because I'm also calling other leads, like for sale by owner, make me move, expireds, and a lot of special leads. So, yes, so for the first month, what I got here is that, well, I had appointments. I got appointments. I had 17 appointments, and so we met 12 of them. The others I need to reschedule. So far, 4 listed, and we're expecting 3 more to list within the next 30 days. Now, my question is, the follow-up.
I have to clarify, just from your probate leads?
Just from my probate leads, sir. Yes, that is correct.
I'm pretty sure you're ahead for win of the week. Congratulations. That's well, incredible.
I do my best to call them every day, and just I'm trying to have a better understanding about the process. I'm not really familiar. Some of them would ask like, call me in the next 30 days, call me in the next couple of months, and I'm just not sure how long it takes. Like the entire process. Like, what would be a good time for me to follow up with them? How long does the whole process take? I mean, normally.
Anywhere from 3 months to 3 years, and it really depends on kind of the motivation level of the family and the attorney and the workload of the court. I mean, a typical probate scenario is 6 to 12 months. But if people are taking a long time to get things done and not getting stuff to the attorney or to the court, it can drag it out. If if heirs are missing, you're trying to locate an heir that's still alive but estranged, like that can sometimes draw it out for months. So each one's kind of like a thumbprint. Like there's no hard set, time frame. But typical, most people, about 2 months after the death, they'll engage and start to move forward. And usually within 6 to 12 months, they've closed probate. And it's going to depend on what market you're in and things like that. But it's expect that 6 to 12 months is the majority. And then there's going to be some that go 2-3 years. And those are the really good come list me calls. They'll sit on the letter, and one day they'll have a kind of a mental breakthrough, and they'll pick up the phone and say, "I'm ready to do this. Let's meet." And it's
Chad,
really that easy.
A clarification: it doesn't always take that long. It's just we've seen them close in 6 weeks. I mean, especially in Florida, it depends on your market, but it can go a lot sooner. It's kind of like a title company. Some can get a deal closed in 3 days, and some take 2 months. So it really depends on the efficiency of all the players. It can go much, much quicker than that.
True. I've done them I've done them literally a week after the death because people approached me.
Right.
And I was, I think I told, it might have been on Mastery, but I bought a hoarder house, and his aunt passed away, and he's like, I'm not even going in that damn thing. Just here, write me a contract and let me know when to close. And we closed in 4 or 5 days. Because the family they literally didn't want to go in the house. So it can be really quick, and those, that's why we teach you to market early and often. And the other reason we spread the campaign out over at least 3 months is so we get those longer term sellers. Not everybody's going to act that quickly, but some will.
Yes, sir.
All right. Can you imagine how when you really get this thing figured out, Andre? Then you'll really start to get results. You'll get more than you'll get more. No, I'm just kidding. But that is stunning to get 17 appointments your first month doing it. That's phenomenal. Congratulations.
That's phenomenal. Thanks for.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Thanks
you
for
just
sharing.
have to keep on dialing because, there's a lot of bad numbers. That's expected, I guess. Some of them doesn't really have numbers. I mean, no address at all, and it's like I'm calling like 1,000 leads. So I mean, you just have to go through it every single day, and get the good ones. Like I'm even calling some leads that are like, I believe goes way back to 2017 or 2016. So I'm just really doing my best to dig through, the good ones and get the good ones there. Yeah. And hopefully I'll be able to get more with your help, sir. So.
Hey,
that
just
is
to wrap
awesome.
this up before we move on, Jim, Andre, if you haven't already, have you listened to our role play archives?
I haven't yet, sir. This is my second time.
So
this is my third time attending. Yeah.
You can do it
I would love
if
to
you. You're a subscriber, right?
Yes, sir.
So if you go to Education and Training, Conference Calls, Access Call Archive, or you can jump in the Facebook group, All the Leads Mastermind. And I think listening to, let's just say the last 5 role play calls are going to answer, they're going to fill in a lot of the gaps in your language. And you'll hear me talk about probate quicksand and how a lot of people are standing in their own way. They're giving you that objection of call me back in 2 months. But it just change a couple little things and show them how it's in their benefit to meet with you now, and you'll start converting a lot more. But listen to that's your homework. Listen to the last 5 role play calls, and I'll bet you come at a whole different level of confidence next time we hear from you.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it. I will. Actually, I just saw your Facebook. I'll ask questions, sir, in the near future. I'm just trying to, understand this for now. But thank you so much for all the information that you shared, and I'll reach out to you soon again, sir.
I'd suggest you don't want to understand it a lot better than you already do. Sounds like you've got this knocked. Keep on doing what you're doing, man.
Thank you. I will, sir. Thank
awesome.
you.
Great way to end the call. I apologize to a few people that are left in the queue. Please send an email to support@alltheleads.com, and we will get back to you for a one-on-one call right away. So we are going to have to wrap it up. It's almost 5 minutes after. As always, guys, this was a great, I want to say 200th anniversary, but 200th call. We appreciate so many of you showing up, participating, and I always like to end these calls the same way. Thank all of you for being here, like I tried to do in the beginning with my little talking guy. But we do appreciate you. We wouldn't be here without you. And, you heard some great stories today, and what a great finish. If Andre can get a phone and make 17 appointments, no excuse for anybody not doing it. And I challenge each of you to take one idea, one thought, one thing that you heard on today's call, go out and put it into practice, and come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great week. We'll talk to you same time next Thursday. Take care.